See how it's going to play. So let's go through the whole thing that you know. You two met at the Los Angeles Film Festival with Eli Roth, your film.
That's right, yeah.
And why did you get on so well? What is it?
Well, we found out that we had made out with the same girl at Sid Jess.
Yeah, basically.
That's exactly it. Like, yeah, we're talking like different years, not the same year.
Different years.
We both hooked up with the same girl because we were talking about, oh, you've been to Sid Jess? Yeah. Did you know?
What about this girl? And we were like, yeah.
Within 5 minutes. And then we talked about another film festival.
And then we talked about Brussels.
There was another girl at Brussels we both made out with too. So we said, all right, we have similar tastes. And we taste similar.
Yeah. No, and I think that we spoke the same language. That it's basically geek, you know?
Right.
It's a universal language. Like when I met Eli for the first time and we started talking about movies and TV shows and even the magazines that we were reading, they were the same magazines and I was like, and the same movies and the same shows. And I was like, whoa, that's really weird.
Yeah, and Nicolas was the guy who learned Japanese because they stopped printing his favorite manga in Spanish. So he had to buy the Japanese one so he could continue reading it. Like, who the hell does that? And then the night after we met, I was like, do you want to see my new movie? And I had an hour of Hostel cut and invited him and Edgar Wright in the cutting room and showed him the first hour of it.
Yeah, I know.
Literally, the rough cut of an hour of cut footage.
Yeah, when I watched it, it was like, this movie's going to be a hit. And Eli was talking that the movie was going to be released close to Narnia, and I was like, dude, like, fuck that line, you know, like...
So you're famous in Chile for doing all the romantic comedies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a different sort of kettle of fish altogether, like horrible. But hang on, it was starting out as something else anyway, wasn't it, Aftershock? It was starting out as something...
It was going to be something science fiction originally.
Yeah,
and then
like, we were trying to make a movie that could mix our sensibilities.
Yeah.
And in a way, people know me in Latin America because of my romantic comedies, and Eli is known all around the world because of his horror movies. And we always play around with the idea of, oh, it would be really cool to make a movie that could start like a comedy, romantic comedy, or a fun movie, and suddenly, you know, something really horrible happens in the middle and turns the movie into something else. And then the earthquake actually happened. Because we have been talking about that for years, you know, since I met Eli, I was like, oh, we should do something together. Eli had the idea at the time of doing trailer trash, you know, like we were and we have been talking about doing something together, but then Eli, when he produced The Last Exorcism and it ended up being a hit, he had access to get funding really easy for a movie. So that's when we were, when we were like, oh, so this could be a reality. And we started talking about doing Aftershock together, and it's a movie that starts like one of my romantic comedies, and then it turns into, you know, into a horror film. So
his films are also really fucked up and dark. I mean, what's great about now is Netflix, all his movies are on, so people can see them. And he had a show when he was 16 called Piloto MTV that he wrote, produced, directed, that was on after Jackass. And they're really, really dark and funny and hilarious and twisted. So we had very similar senses of humor. And it was great to watch him, you know, during a scene where someone's getting like brutally murdered, his friends are being like killed and chopped up. Scene with the monitor, he's like, he was laughing, and he's like, I get it. He's like, why? It's so satisfying to kill your friends. It's the best. I love it.
It was like,
why? And I was like,
funny.
now you get it. We had such a fun time.
So Lorenzo, are you part of his rep company? Because I see Ariel and Nicolas Martinez. I mean, they've worked with you millions of times. Have you worked with him before?
Yeah, I came along in the second part of his trilogy in Fuck My Wedding, and that's how I met Nico. How did that happen?
We were looking for a girl that had to be really, really beautiful, and at the same time a really good actress, and that was really hard to find. And Lorenza, this is the thing, I saw Lorenza at a party, and I was like, oh, that girl is really hot. And then, like, Lorenza was always, like, in the covers of magazines, you know, because she used to be a model. And one day on Facebook, I sent her a message like, hey, you know, like, we're doing a movie. And Lorenza was like, yeah, of course, we're doing a movie, whatever. You just want to get my number. It was really like that.
Yeah. I thought he just wanted to get my number. The thing was, I used to be a model, and he was...
I mean, as a matter of fact, yes, I wanted to get her number, but also, I was like, this girl could be talented. And she did, and we have been for the movie, we test girls, like, for days and days and days and days, and Lorenza came to the audition, and like this we were like, she's so talented. And she did Fuck My Wedding, the movie ended up being a hit. Lorenza was everywhere in Chile, and she had a small part in Aftershock when we were prepping the movie. I was like, oh, Lorenza needs to have a part, you know. She
should be the bartender.
This is a funny story.
And that's the story.
Yeah.
I think you guys should tell it.
Yeah, no, she was like, he's like, oh, Lorenza from Fuck My Wedding, she's gonna be the bartender. She's great. She'll play. She's really funny. She'll be cool. She looks hot. And then she came down, and I came down because it was right before shooting went to this Adidas party.
Nico didn't know I could speak English.
Well, that's it. Well, I went down, I was like, hi, nice to meet you. She's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, wait, I'm confused. You're American? And she's like, no, I'm Chilean. I'm like, but like, what, your parents live here? You're just visiting? She's like, no, I was born and raised here. I'm like, I don't understand. How do you speak perfect American English?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I lived there and I studied acting in New York. Wait, you learned to speak English when you were 13 years old. You spoke no English, and now you speak with no accent. She's like, and then Nico's like, I didn't know she. I was like, why didn't you tell? Why? We were about to cast another girl.
I was like, what? Like how? Like why?
I was like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't we just cast Lorenza as Kylie? And he's like, I didn't know she spoke English. I was like, you're right. Why would you? It would never come.
Yeah, like we never spoken English before, you know, like.
It was so funny.
And then that was it. And she auditioned for it, and she was so good that I was like, when I was directing Hemlock Grove, we needed a girl for the first episode gets brutally murdered, and it's the Laura Palmer. Like she kicks off the whole mystery. I was like, Lorenza Izzo. She's got to be it. And then she was so great in Hemlock Grove that we cast her as the lead in Green Inferno. And it's like this. She could, she's like a young Naomi Watts. She's like Naomi Watts in the ring. She's incredible.
Much prettier, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
But we love it. We have a great group. And it's really been fun. I went down there, and Nicolas was like, "Why is it like you've grown up with us? The same weird sense of humor,
yeah.
the same movies. It's
No,
like you're living."
I've been around
because
it's really
Nicolas
funny.
Martinez and Ariel Levy, they are part of my movies since I was, I don't know, 15 years old, so I've been always shooting with them. And suddenly we were shooting a movie in English with Eli, and that was very surreal. And then they were in the jungle shooting Green Inferno, like with the same cast from my other movies, and Lorenza's the lead, and I was like, what happened? Like what made it?
He came over and everyone's like, I hijacked his crew.
Yeah.
It was Eli directing, not me.
It was really sad because I was releasing, I was doing all the press for Fuck My Family, and I was alone in Chile, and everybody was in Peru shooting Green Inferno. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna call Ariel to go. Oh, he's not. I'm gonna call Eli. Oh, he's not. I'm gonna call Lauren. Like, hijack everybody.
Were you always going to be in it? Did you make?
No, we actually originally wrote Gringo. We weren't sure who was going to be in it, or if I'd be available to be in it. And then, sort of as a producer, we thought, okay, well, we could save money on a ticket on the next one, not flying anyone. And it really made sense once we sort of got into the casting and started seeing the lists of the actors that were reading it and that wanted to do it. And then we were like, you were like, why don't you do it? Like, and I thought, well, yeah, I could play Gringo. Like, I should do it. Like, we wrote the part, based on me and guys I knew, and I thought, well, this would actually be great.
It's funny because always the idea, like the most stupid idea wins.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that. It's always like that with us. It's like, what if you do it? And it's like, why not? Then even in Green Inferno, there is this guy called Aaron Burns. There is also a director and that worked with us doing post-production. And he's a guy that is very funny. And we were casting one character, and then I was like, why we don't cast Aaron? Yeah, and we were laughing like that would be so hilarious, like ha 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 ha. And I don't know, a month later was Aaron cast in the movie in the middle of the jungle, and
he was great.
Well, that's great.
But he also talked to Edgar Wright, and he talks about how Nick Frost was their other roommate. Like that was Nick Frost, and now it's like Simon Pegg and Edgar. Like that's a lot of these people just started out as the friend of someone. The Wes Anderson and his gang. It's like I think any kind of group of filmmakers, as long as you have the right people in the right role.
But you had to go to Chile to get that. That's
I know.
thing.
It is weird because I think that they're
being in LA.
Yeah,
being in LA.
It's important that I went to Chile because they're so used to being on their own and to finding resourceful ways of making movies that they don't know any different. Like if you tell someone, we have to do this plane crash effect and work all night taking out the background of this one, they'll do it. Whereas in Los Angeles, it's like, no, that's a 3-day shot, it'll take 6 people. Like, the way they do things, they've just figured out a system that's so much more conducive to just keep making movies and staying creative and not overthinking it. And in Los Angeles, it's about negotiations and my agent and my contract and this and what's my next movie. That, you know, it actually was a pleasure to make movies there. We're completely isolated from the rest of the world.
No,
and you're not infected by this mentality that I think is really polluted from making it
every time that we have to deal with Hollywood in terms of like, oh, so we want to do this, and it's like, okay, so now we need to get permission from this and from who, and somebody has to sign whatever, and then what? And we're like, well, why is so easy, you know? It's like if you wanted to move this chair and do this, and to do that, you need to have 14 permissions, and somebody, and it's like, what? Like, even when we were shooting after, Green Inferno, they were taking, like, we were moving from one set to another set, and I grab a box because that's how I do things, you know? And the guy was like, no, you can't do that because the union and whatever, and you can get hurt. And I was like, okay, yeah.
When I shot Hemlock Grove in Toronto, I was like, can't we just grab another camera? Well, we need another union cameraman. You need it. Well, can't we just shoot behind the scenes? Well, it needs to be a union, this or that. And it's like, oh, you know, we're shooting in Chile in Aftershock. It's like, I pick up a camera and shoot. It's just a pleasure.
Or Green Inferno, like Eli did a lot
of camera work. I did a lot of camera work on the movie because I wanted to. It's just like we're getting cameras and shooting. So it's just more the whole spirit of it, of how they make movies and the way we're doing it. I was like, this is what we want to start Chile with. Let's make this an official
Well, it's fantastic, I think.
Thank you.
Again, you have the most incredible business sense to me. It's amazing. No, seriously. I mean, you get it exactly right, and I mean, I just don't. Amazing. It's one of those talents that you have, and I think it's actually.
Thank you.
In line with everything.
He's Jewish.
Yeah, there is that. It is Jewish. I mean, did you really? I mean, I saw the fact that you actually copied the club sort of like crash from actual footage. From
CCTV. It's true.
Is that true? Did you do anything else with any of the other scenes? Did you copy other stuff?
No, like the real sequence that not that we copy, but that.
No, I don't mean that.
But I had access to the security tapes of the club, a club that was completely destroyed. That let me watch the footage, and the footage was so hardcore and so impressive that I was like, whoa! Like even if we do it like how it happened, we need to tone it down a little bit because it's when reality is way more hardcore than your imagination. You know, like if you have shown the earth how it really was, nobody will believe it. Because it's more similar to Cloverfield.
And you really did see your guy, this friend of yours, had his hands cut off. Seriously.
Yeah, it was pretty strong. The real earthquake. Yeah, he chopped off both his hands. A part of the ceiling came down, and I was at a club where it was made out of mainly window glass panels. And part of it also was a whole wall of bottles of alcohol, like of glass, made out of glass. So when the whole wall came down, most of my friends, everyone that was there was cut by glasses. So there was so much blood, everybody was bleeding. And one of my friends actually got, it was, how do you call it? One of those like pillars, what do you call them? It was like a bar from the ceiling that fell down and chopped off both of his hands. And since it's so much chaos, everybody running around, it's not like both hands were right there. Since everybody's running, screaming, trying to get out of there. Everything's falling, everyone's trying to get out. We couldn't find them right away. It was insane. So I didn't personally find a hand, but I was looking for them, yes. And then thank God, since it's a bar, there was ice, and we could find a hand.
Did he have them retouched then?
Yes, he did, both, and only one ended up working, and now he has a prosthetic on the other one.
So is it sort of too simplistic to say that because you went through that, it was an easier film to act in?
I don't think it was easy to act in, but I have to say, since there was not too much CGI effects, since it was much practical, you didn't really have to act much. I actually kind of felt most of the effects. It was kind of more of a method acting, I call it, because mainly for most of the sequences, you were basically being thrown, rocks at. I remember the method. We've been talking about that. Basically, I remember one day going to set, and it was the part where the earthquakes hit, and I'm supposed to be taking safety under a table, and I see a huge piece of like cement to the ceiling, and I'm like, oh, okay, so what's the safety, Nico, here? Who's the stunt girl who goes under the table? He's like, well, you, and I'm like, but what's the safety here? Oh, well, look at the table, it's pretty stable, come on, nothing's gonna happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I get under the table, 1, 2, 3, boom, and the cement goes on.
It was terrifying. I was like, is that table gonna break? so gringo. You just that was like, it's like a 200, that was a block of cement they dropped on that table. But, and I remember we had Crash in the Ceiling, you'd have like 40 girls in heels and mini skirts, like 19-year-old girls running through the club screen. We were rehearsing, and I'm like, boy, the stunt girls are really good. He's like, stunt girls.
So gringo.
So gringo.
Yeah,
I was like, they were extras. And I was like, oh my God, if we dropped the ceiling, you just close your eyes and pray that no one got hit for real.
Remember when we had the guns and would be like, so where's the police? Or
yeah, like there was a sequence where a guy had to shoot somebody, and it was like, okay, but where's the police and where's the fire truck? Like why? Like a fire truck? Like we're just shooting a gun, Eli. He's like, yeah, but it's safe. You know, like you can tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, you need like blanks discharged. It can be. There was an active famous director put a blank to his head and killed himself. Like I know from Bastards, you come home covered in that shit at the end of the day. Like it can be dangerous. And I told the AD, I was like, Papa, I was like, you know, like you're firing a gun at an actor. Like you could really. Has anyone tested the gun? He's like, shoot me. And the actor goes, shoots him. He's like, okay, we're good. Let's shoot. I was like, that was it. That was the safety test. I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah,
I'll
I was
shut up.
like.
So, I mean, was anything problematic that you did to do on film? Because you literally did most of it.
I mean, it was, there were days that were really, like, we shot 4 days at the cemetery, and it was a part of the cemetery, of the General Cemetery of Santiago, that was completely destroyed because of the earthquake. And they let us shoot there. I don't know why. And we were there, and Eli came, and he was like, wow, like, the art department did a really good work here. And I was like, yeah, the art department, Eli. And he was like, yeah, look at those skulls and those bones. And I was like, Eli, they are real. Like, this part was completely destroyed. And they let us shoot there. And when we were shooting there,
the generators, the power, we had generators, and I remember it was like 4 in the morning. We were shooting. It was like probably the 3rd day in the cemeteries. We were so tired. We were like really
chicken
delirious.
spiders the size of your hand.
Chicken spiders.
Yes,
yeah,
like really big. And I remember we were powered by generators, and then the power goes out, and I'm literally, oh my God.
For like 45
And we were in the
minutes.
holding area, which was really far away from where everybody was, and I'm like sitting in a chair outside the trailer like this. Please, I'm so sorry, dead people. Please do not do anything to me.
No,
Please,
it got better.
please don't do anything to me. Please. I was like, what's this? Who do I pray to? What do I
No,
do?
the best part was this. Our makeup artist decides there's a guy who has to be in complete burn makeup. Now the burn makeup for the fully charred body was like a 6-hour appliance, and it took a while to get off. So of course the guy starts in the afternoon, and they're doing him, and they're fully burning him. But to put it all over the mouth and to have the teeth burned, he had a mouth appliance. He was like breathing through the straws, and I was like, okay. So then we're like doing it.
No, then we. No, this is the story. The story is that we completely forgot about.
Well, no, I'm telling you, I'm getting to that. We're shooting, and the guy was wandering the cemetery like a Fulci movie. Like, we're not only filming, there's this zombie guy who's getting bored because he can't lie down and he can't sit. And then at certain point, I'm like, hey, did you get the shot of the burn guy? You're like, yeah, we'll get to him, He completely forgot. Everybody was gonna rap.
The power goes out.
And the power goes out.
You'd be walking around
and then they finally, after 12 hours, took the makeup off. And what did he say? This is a violation of my human rights.
Yeah, it's a violation of my human rights.
It was so funny. It was so horrible. And then we had to put
I hadn't eat anything the whole day because we started shooting like when the night started, like let's say from 8 to 8 or from 7 to 7, and you know he was like they started doing the makeup at I don't know before that like at 1 p.m. So he spent the whole like 12 hours or more without eating, and he couldn't speak. So and he was like we're trying to talk to people, and when we finally
You're stuck, by the way.
I'm shocked.
That was bad.
That was the best.
That was a mistake. That was the worst mistake.
That was the worst part of it.
I laughed like 4 days after that. Like, yeah, I don't know. We thought that it was so hilarious.
I never laughed.
Especially him telling, like we were like, okay, so this guy, wake up. What does he do? Like he told his family that he's gonna be in a movie and that he's gonna be wearing.
Stop! This is getting bad. Stop. Okay. This is what happened.
What can you say about Green Inferno, just very briefly before I open up the question?
Yeah, it's I don't want to say too much about it because I'm in the editing phase of it.
It's a romantic comedy.
It's romantic, but it's a very it's very scary. It's really fun. We shot in the Amazon, like deep in the Amazon. So far in a village that was so remote, these people had no contact with the outside world. They had no electricity, no running water, and we pulled up and there were grass huts, and like people came out of these shacks looking at us, and I think it was probably the first gringo they'd ever seen. And we asked if we could film there, and with our Peruvian producer, and he explained, we have to explain to these people what a movie is. They had never seen a movie before, nor had they seen television. So conceptually, they had no idea. So a week later, they went back and they showed everyone in the village Cannibal Holocaust. And I was like, don't you want to start with like, I don't know, Wizard of Oz? Way up to Cannibal Holocaust. They're like, no, I mean, if you're going to be like really fucking people up and chopping them up and eating them, like we got to have, you know, we got to show them the real thing. And the villagers thought it was a comedy. And all of the natives signed up to be in the movie to play cannibals, and the tribal elders voted to let us film there. And the way we paid them, because if we gave them money, they wouldn't be able to get to a town to spend it, was we put metal on, we roofed all the houses in the village. After we shot, of course. And we built a kitchen for them. We paid them, all you need to do is roof their houses and kitchen, and you'll get the most amazing extras as cannibals. It's fantastic.
Now they can be cannibals for real, they have a kitchen and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly enough, the guy who's editing it is the director of Bring Me the Head of Machine Gun Woman.
Yes.
Chillewood.
Chillewood.
Yeah.
We call
Chillewood.
Chilean, it's Chilean night here. Chilean genre night back to back.
Okay, listen, let's have a couple of questions from the audience.
Well, hey, I mean, I realize that in all my films, in Cabin Fever, I get ripped in half. In Hostel, even though I'm smoking weed, my head appears in Sasha's office in Hostel 2. And in this one, I get burned to death. I mean, it was really fun to go from, you know, the idea was that if I'm going to be the lead in the movie and you're with me, what's that? Oh, yeah, and Piranha 3D, I get my head crushed in, of course. Death by Motorboat. And I wanted to, you know, Bearju is such a great, classic, heroic character that I figured if people saw the movie and they know I'm, you know, I'm a writer on it and producer on it and I'm starring in it, then obviously I'm going to write like a great heroic scenes for me, and he just turns out to be a total chicken shit and dies a horrible death. So it was actually really fun. I can't explain why it's such a weird, fun, perverse thrill to see yourself die on screen. It's inexplicably satisfying. It's the one thing in life we will never get to see is our own death or our own funeral. So watching it on screen, it just feels weird and fun. I love killing myself on screen. Well, they're twins. They dress very slutty. No, Jim and Sylvia actually contacted me on MySpace and sent me their trailer for Dead Hooker in a Trunk, which I thought was fucking hilarious. And they told me they had made a feature. And I said, send it to me. So I was curious what these two girls, like how serious were they? And I was so impressed with what they did for $2,000. I mean, there's a fight scene that I thought rivaled, you know, most of the fight scenes that I'd seen in mainstream movies. I mean, in that sequence in particular, these two girls there's a drug dealer that comes in and beats the shit out of both of them, and they're throwing themselves through plate glass windows, and I was like, it's a professional fight scene. And the movie's really fun. And I gave them sort of notes. I was like, I think you need to fix this and fix that, and they were like, okay, and they actually started recutting it, and I went up to do press in Vancouver, and I had dinner with both of them, and I said, what do you guys, like, you know, now that you've finished this film, what are you really going to do? What's your real first feature? This was a warm-up, and this was your film school, and they you know, started talking about American Mary, and I was talking about different movies they should see, different directors, and I just thought that they were so, I really liked that they were committed filmmakers, that they were very talented, and that they understood that you have to market yourself. That now the industry has changed, the world is different, and you have to pretty much do everything. You have to make a movie that is deserving, but you kind of have to, it's like, it helps when you are really, really good with people and with a crowd, and you know how to sell yourself. I mean, my first screens, I came out covered head to toe in blood, and you know, Nicolas shockingly was drunk at a lot of his Q&As, and you know, very, very funny, but like, you know, there's a whole thing about really making yourself as the director, using your own personality to get people interested to see the movie. And I thought they were really deserving of it. And we actually talked about me coming on as a producer on their film, And I thought, you guys actually can do this on your own. You don't need me. You can get the money to do this, and if I come on, then it's going to be, oh, Eli Roth's movie, or Eli Roth did this. Or, you know, like, I think that the best thing for you two is to just go out there on your own, and I can certainly be your, like, godfather off in the background and help, you know, give you advice whenever you need it. I'm always there for you, and they call on me a lot, and I was just happy to help them. But you know, we wanted to, and we can talk about it, we wanted to have it in English, and the best way to have that is to have a tourist in that country.
Yeah, and also we wanted to show basically what happens with all the movies that come from Latin America is that every movie is like City of God. Like all the movies are like, oh, we're so poor, we're barefoot, we don't know what Wi-Fi is, and people in Europe are like, oh, that's so artsy. And I was like, why don't we show another reality? Like that's my reality. The movie that like Aftershock for me, I mean, it's not my life, kind of like my life, but basically show that there are clubs, that, you know, DJs, people are always on Twitter, and that it doesn't have any difference with the US or the UK or whatever, you know. I think that nowadays, because of the internet, you have access to the same culture, to the same music worldwide.
And that's what your character talks about, the same hipster, like why even bother going out? It's
the same thing, like why even bother going to Bali if I suddenly all of a sudden I find myself in a third world quote-unquote country, and I find the same chipsters, Chilean hipsters, and it's the same music, it's the same people, it's the same cool, you know, artsy, whatever culture. So.
Always there's gonna be an asshole DJ that is gonna start playing MGMT. So
exactly, or MA3, which I, by the way, love, but it's just, it's trying to pull it out that it's not a third world country per se. It's the cool thing of it.
Yeah.
Right, listen, we're going to try and organise this signing. Please, it's one thing only and no photographs, all right? We have to get this going because you've all got to see the couple to double bill.
I would like to ask one thing. This is the UK premiere, and you guys are the first one to see it, and Nicolas is a new director. It's his first English language movie. It's Lorenza's first movie. Please, if you like the movie, if you enjoyed it, if you take 10 seconds to write a nice tweet, it will make a difference to the distributors, it will make a difference to the theater owners, it will make a difference to them. If you didn't like it, keep your fucking mouth shut. Just wait till we open. Give the film a chance. But please, honestly, you can't imagine the power you guys have and how much it means to the distributors.
Hashtag Aftershock.
Yeah, right, Lorenza and Nico. We're all on it. So thank you, we appreciate it. We'll retweet everything. Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you, Alan.